Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. Patch 10.15 is finally upon us, with this newest Dragonflight update set to go live later today. While this is a much smaller update compared to the major content additions like a 10.0 and a 10.1, 10.15 does bring with it plenty of new features, like Time Rifts, an open world public event which offers plenty of rewards from gear upgrades, powerful trinkets, as well as unique thematic cosmetics. We also get a new side activities such as Whelp Daycare, time anomalies, and even the new dragon riding races coming to Kalimdor, as well as Dragonflight's very own mega dungeon, Dawn of the Infinite. Patch 10.15 also features a ton of new class changes, which includes a brand new playstyle for the class of the Evoker, as well as massive class reworks which will likely help shake up the PvE and the PvP meta for the Dragonflight Season 2. In today's video, I wanted to do a deep dive and cover every single new class change arriving with the 10.15, and to highlight how every single one of our favorite classes are changing or improving in this most recent Dragonflight update. But right before we dive into today's class update, most of you guys watching these videos are still not subscribed. However, the more of you remind, the more of you do, so let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if you're watching these videos anyway, especially if you want to get more regular content regarding all of the newest Dragonflight updates and changes going forward. Before we dive into the individual class changes, we got a couple of global updates which will have an impact on every single playstyle. First, we have an adjustment to the mana economy of hybrid DPS and tank classes, such as Protection Paladins, Devastation Evokers, Shadow Priests, Feral Druid, Enhancement Shamans, and others. You will notice that your mana pool has been greatly expanded, but its regeneration rate has been noticeably reduced. This allows for more continuous support spells which can be used during combat, while still placing limits on your overall healing throughout a combat encounter. Next, we see a reduction to the group-wide healing effects for certain spells which convert damage into group healing. Spells like Vampiric Embrace, Nature's Vigil, and Ancestral Guidance are specifically targeted. These cooldowns are meant to be a potent supplemental support tools for group recovery, without completely replacing healers who should be staying focused in the main primary role. Finally, the Onyx Amulet and the Seal of Diurna ring accessories are seeing massive damage reductions as of this week. The Onyx Amulet's primary gems see their damage effects reduced by 40%, while the Aranog Fire Ring sees a 25% reduction as well. Every class found using these rings have gained a damage buff to help make up the difference, though certain specs which heavily relied on the Onyx Amulet will see additional supplemental changes to make sure they don't fall behind drastically compared to their original performance output. Next, let's get into the specific class changes. I will break down this portion of the video starting with the PvE updates and then go on how our classes are evolving within PvP. Starting with the class of Death Knights. Death Knight's Ghoul Pet gains a little bit more survivability, mostly for PvP purposes. Blood Death Knights see a simple ability damage buff to help make up the Onyx Amulet difference. When it comes to Demon Hunters, Vengeance Demon Hunter sees a slight damage gain to also make up the loss of the Onyx Amulet. The class of Druid sees a ton of changes in this most recent update, starting with their class talent tree, where we see a new talent of Rising Light, Falling Night be implemented, empowering the Druid's effectiveness during the day and during the night, offering either a 3% damage increase or a 2% damage and a 1% defensive versatility value. Balanced Druids are set to gain more build diversity, with their original damage improved by 5%, though certain talents like Astral Smolder and Wild Surges will see a slight reduction. Talents like Lunar Shrapnel, Waning Twilight, Warrior of Elune, and Umbral Intensity see a buff to help make him more appealing to talent into. New Moon also gains additional changes, with every lunar cycle further improved, with the New Moon buffed by 100%, Half Moon by 45%, and Full Moon by 15%, while the talent of Fury of Elune sees a 10% damage reduction. Feral Druids gain a new talent of Dire Fixation. Attacking a target with Shred fixates you to your target, causing them to take 8% additional damage, which is a massive single target increase. Then Rampant Ferocity has been redesigned. Ferocious bites cause Rampant to cleave all targets with your Rip Bleed, no longer scaling off of your bite's damage value. Rampant will also scale off of your mastery to help make up that difference. Guardian Druid has also seen additional changes to help make him a little bit more sturdy. Innate Resolve has been adjusted, where Frenzied Regen will now scale in power with more missing health, which is a nice survivability increase. The talent of Raise will no longer replace Maul, which is a quality of life update. Lunar Beam now grants 15% additional mastery, making it a bit more appealing. Moonless Night talent damage has been increased by 20%. Flash and Claws will increase the maximum stacks of Thrash by 1 per talent point invested, which allows for new defensive buffs as well as benefits. And finally, all of Guardian Druid's abilities have been buffed by 6% to help make up the Onyx Amulet difference. Restoration Druids have gained 25% additional damage with the changes to the Nature's Vigil to help them gain a little bit more hybrid damage potential. Next, the class of Evoker is going to be going through a ton of major changes for the patch 10.15, starting with their class talent trees. Evokers gain a new upgrade talent of Potent Mana, which empowers the effectiveness of whatever healer you bless with Source of Magic, increasing their healing and damage by 3%. Evokers also gain a new talent of Regenerative Magic, which increases your leech by 3%. Draconic Legacy and Blast Furnace will now cost a single talent point while keeping their maximum effectiveness. The Emerald Blossom healing effect triggers much quicker, and Scarlet Adaptation stores 40% more total power. Evokers get access to the newest spec of Augmentation, which should be available to spec into from the get-go in patch 10.15 with no prerequisites required to unlock it. Augmentation is a ranged DPS playstyle, which focuses on maintaining helpful buffs on your allies, empowering their damage, improving their survivability, and assisting them with a variety of support spells and effects. Augmentation is intended to be an approachable playstyle for any new and returning players, with many of its spells and abilities spawning an auto-targeting function, which makes the whole buff management playstyle much easier to adjust into. Players new to the Augmentation Evoker are advised to take time exploring all of your talented options, and don't be afraid to experiment with various talent builds until you get comfortable with the overall playstyle. Devastation Evoker's Mastery is also seen a reduction in 10.15, with its value reduced by 20%, but its overall damage has been increased by 6.5% in hopes of alleviating their heavy mastery reliance. Preservation Evoker gains 10% more damage and 2% more overall healing. The talent of Life Giver's Flame healing has been slightly reduced, but its healing effect now heals up to 5 injured targets evenly, instead of healing one single target at a time. The healing of Rewind has also been reduced, rewinding 40% of damage taken rather than the original 50% value. Exhilarating Burst increases your crit healing by 30% per talent point invested, up from the original 15%. Just like Evokers, Mages are going through quite a bit of new changes, with the class and the spec talent trees getting substantial revamps as of the patch 10.15. Starting with the class talent tree, one of the biggest changes that will affect all Mage specs is the removal of Rune of Power. All Mage specs will be compensated for its removal, with Arcane, Fire, and Frost gaining substantially more damage to help make up the difference. Shifting Power will take place of Rune of Power due to this ability's regular use in most endgame Mage builds and playstyles. Mages also gain a new talent of Ice Cold, which replaces Ice Block, reducing damage taken by 70% for 6 seconds, during which you're free to cast, move, and use other abilities, but foregoing the complete immunity of Ice Block. All Mage specs will also get a new choice node, with one of the options being Mass Barrier, which casts your spec's barrier effect on up to 4 nearby allies. The other talent of choice is Mass Invisibility, which turns your allies invisible for 12 seconds, allowing your raid or party to sneak past dangerous foes undetected. The spec of Arcane has also gained additional changes, with the iconic ability of Arcane Barrage becoming a baseline skill learned natively. The ability of Barrage also no longer has a cooldown. Arcane Mages gain a new talent of Concentrated Power, where clear casting makes your next missiles channel 20% faster, or your next arcane explosion will echo for 40% additional damage. The capstone of Orb Barrage has also been redesigned, where casting Arcane Barrage has a 10% chance per arcane charge consumed to launch an arcane orb in front of you, which can create a very satisfying feedback loop of gameplay. The talent of Arcane Surge has gained the Arcane Power upgrade naturally as part of its talent loadout. And the talent of Siphon Storm will no longer grant you arcane charges, but halves the evocation's channel time to help make it feel more fluid in combat. And the defensive talent of Improved Prismatic Barrier has been doubled in its magic damage reduction and further reduces magic damage durations. Fire mages have gained a ton of new changes as of the patch 10.1.5. First, Flame Strike has become a baseline skill and has gained a ton more support with the new talent tree to help make the ability more viable. Next, Ignite's ability to spread like wildfire has been limited just a bit, with its base spread cleaving onto 3 nearby targets instead of the original 4. Master of Flame talent causes Ignite to spread to 2 additional enemies down from 4 additional targets. And while Ignite does become much more difficult to spread, it does become far more effective when finding a small group of enemy targets. Besides this, Fire Mages are also set to gain a slew of new talents. The talent of Meteor makes a return, becoming an AoE focused option, but can be made to serve more single target encounters with a deep impact instead. Unleashed Inferno empowers your combustion, where Fireball, Pyroblast, Scourge, and Phoenix Flames will deal 50% additional damage, and will help reduce the cooldown of combustion by 1.25 seconds while combustion is active. Inferno is on the same choice node as the Sun King's Blessing, which will now support Flame Strike as an AoE alternative ability to use. The spec of Frost has also gained a massive rework, starting with your Mastery. Your Mastery now supports certain frost spells such as Blizzard, Comet Storm, Ice Lance, Glacial Spike, as well as Ray of Frost, which allows for much better talent build variety. One of the biggest reworks that Frost Mages will notice is the new interaction with Icy Veins, which has gained a shorter 2-minute cooldown. Activating Icy Veins will summon a trusty Water Elemental to your side during its duration. This Water Ele has gained a ton more damage than its previous incarnation, with its Water Bolt and Water Jet abilities doing significantly more damage. All attacks by the Water Elemental also help build Frost Mage's stacks of Frigid Empowerment, increasing your frost damage dealt by up to 15% with maximum stacks. Activating the Water Elemental's Freeze ability allows you to gain your maximum stacks instantly, so it may be worth macroing the ability of Freeze into your opener. Besides this, Frost sees a ton of new and improved talent options. The new talent of Winter's Blessing increases your baseline haste and allows you to gain additional haste from all other stat sources. Glacial Assault has become far more potent, increasing the chance that a stray comet strikes your target with a Comet Storm damage debuff notably increased. And Splitting Ice now causes Glacial Spike to cleave a secondary target for 100% of its original value. Ray of Frost can also be further augmented, either with Cryopathy, increasing its single target damage, or causing it to cleave onto nearby targets. Cold Snap will amplify Frost Mage's burst AoE output, with Cone of Cold refreshing the cooldowns of Frozen Orb and Comet Storm if Cone of Cold hits 3 or more targets. Next we have the class of Monk, starting with the base class talent trees. Monks will gain access to 2 new passive talent options, competing on the same row as their active counterparts. Yulon's Grace will be part of your anti-magic choices, and the new passive increases your resilience to magic damage, stacking up to 10% of your maximum health. Dance of the Wind is your anti-physical damage node, with the passive enhancing your dodge chance by 10%. Then we have the spec of Brewmaster, which is one of the few classes heavily impacted by the nerf to the Onyx Amulet. To make sure Brewmaster does not fall behind other tanks too heavily, they're getting a few more changes to help them retain their competitive standing. First, a new talent of Press the Advantage will share a choice node with Weapons of Order. The passive replaces your Tiger Palm with a more empowered auto attack, while blocking the target's chi, causing them to take additional stacking damage. When the effect reaches 10 stacks, your next Rising Sun Kick or Keck Smash will consume all of the stacks to strike again at 100% effectiveness. These auto attacks empowered by Press the Advantage can even proc the damage of Chi Surge and even summon Nuazawa, the Black Ox from Call to Arms. Besides this, all Brewmaster ability damage is further increased by 7%. The damage of Rising Sun Kick and Blackout Kick is increased by 20%, and the damage of Tiger Palm as well as Nuazawa, the Black Ox Celestial, are increased by 50%. Mistweavers are set to gain 10% additional damage, with many of their combat healing effects adjusted to compensate, and Windwalkers gain 2% additional ability damage with the loss of the Onyx Amulet. Holy Paladins are getting a brand new rework for the patch 10.1.5, which will replace the current baseline structure. The talent of Glimmer of Light becomes one of the core aspects of the Holy Paladin identity. Besides Glimmer of Light, we also have Beacon of the Lightbringer, where the Paladin's mastery bonus of Lightbringer will apply to all targets near the Paladin, but also anyone standing near the Beacon of Light target, which in raid situations is usually the tank, which allows Holy Paladins to experiment with more range positional caster-oriented playstyles. Then we have a ton of new talents which help improve the Paladin playstyle, starting with Light's Conviction, which grants Holy Shock 2 charges. Holy Infusion causes Crusader Strikes to generate additional holy power while dealing 25% more damage. On the other side, we have Awestruck, which will increase the effectiveness of Holy Shock, Holy Light, and Flash of Light critical effects. Glimmer of Light can then be further modified with the talent of Illumination, which allows it to affect a much larger group of enemy and friendly targets, while Blessed Focus will center Glimmer's effectiveness towards one singular target. Glistening Radiance causes holy power abilities to sometimes trigger all of your Glimmer effects. Overflowing Light grants Glimmer a new absorption mechanic. Light's Protector will help reduce Glimmer targets' damage taken by 16%, with this reduction effect evenly split amongst all Glimmer targets. Then we have talents like Daybreak, which will absorb all Glimmer effects, causing them to erupt for 200% of their value, while restoring the Paladin's mana per Glimmer consumed, with the Rising Sunlight upgrading Daybreak, which allows your Holy Shocks to then gain double the value. Capstone talents like Tears Deliverance Healing has been greatly improved, which may help nourish a caster Paladin playstyle. Blessing of Summer will also share a new choice node against Merciful Auras, where Merciful Auras will cause 3 nearby allies within your aura to have their health restored every 2 seconds. And during Aura Mastery, every target within 40 yards under your aura gains additional periodic healing. We also have a new choice of Sanctified Wrath versus Awakening available towards the bottom capstone row, with the power of Awakening adjusted to fit a 1 talent point cost over its previous 2 points maximum. Finally, both Protection Paladins and Retribution Paladins have gained a little bit more ability damage to help make up the Onyx Amulet difference. The class of Priest has gained a new talent, which shares a slot against Power Word Life, with the new talent of Benevolence increasing your healing spell's effectiveness by 3%. This choice node has also gained additional pathing options, making it easier for Priest to spec into a defensive playstyle while also picking up the healing benefits. A new talent of Essence Devourer will share a spot with Void Shift. Devourer causes attacks from Shadow Fiend or Mindbender to siphon life from enemies, healing a nearby injured ally with every one of its strikes, promoting a pet-oriented build. The spec of Discipline Priest also gains 10% additional damage, with its atonement value reduced to help compensate. Disc also gains the talent of Luminous Barrier, which creates a shield on all allies within 40 yards, absorbing a moderate amount of damage for the next 10 seconds. The spec of Holy also gains 10% additional damage, and gains a new talent of Epiphany, which allows Holy Words a chance to reset the cooldown of Prayer of Mending, which supports the Mending focused gameplay. Then we have the class of Rogue, with the spec of Outlaw looking to gain a bit of compensation due to their heavy reliance on the Onyx Amulet, though it seems that an official Rogue rework has been pushed back to a later update. For now, Outlaw is set to gain 9% ability damage, which is quite sizable. Additionally, one of the buffs generated from Roll the Bones, Grand Melee, has been redesigned. Grand Melee causes your Blade Flurry cleave to become 10% more effective, while also letting you cleave your primary target, which will have an impact when it comes to buff priority as well as rotational adjustments. Ghostly Strike will no longer empower known rogue effects, such as trinkets, embellishments, weapon effects, or the Onyx Amulet, making certain builds a little bit less effective. Finally, Subtlety has also gained 4% more ability damage due to the Onyx Amulet changes. Next, we have a few updates to the class of Shaman, starting with the Brimming with Life talent, which will increase your maximum health passively instead of during the reincarnation downtime. The spec of Enhancement Shaman also sees additional adjustments to their tier set bonuses. Most Shamans have been keen on keeping their older tier set from Vault of the Incarnates, due to the haste buff offered from its 4 set. To help them make the switch, the older Vault of the Incarnates tier set has seen a few reductions, while the newer tier set has seen additional adjustments. First, the damage of Storm Strike, the Ascendant's Wind Strike, Lava Lash, and Ice Strike damage has all been buffed by 20%, and Maelstrom weapon proc rate has been further increased by 20%. And the Aberrus 4 set bonus empowers Chain Lightning by 20% instead of 100%. Making Chain Lightning usable in cleave and AoE fights, though making it less mandatory when it comes to single target encounters. Besides this, Restoration Shaman also sees a 10% ability damage increase, as well as a 3% healing increase on the account of the nerf to the Ancestral Guardians group healing. Next, we have the class of Warlock, which has also made a ton of new gains for the patch 10.15. First of all, every race in World of Warcraft has gained access to the class of Warlock, which opens up new customization choices as well as racials from actives and passives for all Warlock players. Next, Warlocks can now customize their demons in the barbershop, and can even unlock additional customization options through certain quests, rare enemy kills, as well as other activities. Affliction Warlocks gain a new talent of Xavius' Gambit, where the damage of Unstable Affliction is simply increased by up to 30%. Dread Touch has also been redesigned, where Malefic Rapture causes targets with Unstable Affliction to take 30% additional damage from all damage over time effects for the next 8 seconds, creating a very potent dot management playstyle. Doom Blossom has also been redesigned. When Seed of Corruption Explosion damages a target suffering Unstable Affliction, they erupt with shatter damage to all nearby enemies, increasing Affliction Warlock's AoE value. The damage of Unstable Affliction has also been buffed by 10% to make Affliction single target a bit more potent. Demonology has seen a handful of new talents in this newest build, with many of them adding new crit focused interactions, as well as empowering your primary Felgar pet through talents like Cavitation as well as Heavy Handed. The talent of Bile Scourge Bomber's Soul Shard cost has also been entirely removed, making the ability a lot more usable. Lastly, talents like Rip Through the Portal, Fell Covenant, Demonic Meteor, and Fell Might have all been removed. Rip Through the Portal in particular will limit the overall power of your Dreadhounds, which will have a pretty big impact in the Demonology damage profile. To help make up the Dreadhound difference, abilities such as Implosion, Hand of Gul'dan, and Demon Bolt have all been buffed significantly, and the damage of Dreadstalkers has also been further increased by 15% to compensate. Destruction Warlocks see their talent of Crash and Chaos slightly redesigned, where invoking their summoned Infernal increases the damage of their Chaos Bolts or Rain of Fire significantly, making Inferno builds a little bit more potent. And the damage of Dimensional Rift has been further improved by 15%. Lastly, Protection Warriors are gaining 6% overall damage increase to also help make up the Onyx Amulet difference. Next, I want to go over how our classes are changing when it comes to PvP specifically, starting with a new global change that will affect all casters. The popular caster crafting embellishment of Precognition will still provide you with a temporary crowd control immunity when actively avoiding enemy interrupts, but its haste buff has been removed as of the patch 10.15. Next, we have class-specific updates coming to the class of Death Knight within PvP. Both Frost and Unholy Death Knights are set to lose quite a bit of the burst potential, with many of their big burst cooldowns, as well as many overlapping buffs being heavily decreased. However, their sustained damage is being significantly improved. Both the specs of Death Knights are losing some burst value from the main Abomination limb. Frost Death Knight will lose the value of Empower Wound Weapon haste benefits, the Pillar of Frost base strength as well as the stacking strength buff, as well as talents like Frostwalp's Aid, Bone Grinder, Shattering Blade, Gathering Storm, Everfrost, and Enduring Strength. but the damage of Frost Strike is being buffed by a flat 45% within PvP. Obliterate will deal 20% additional damage, with its damage going up to 60% when a killing machine proc is not active, which should make Obliterate far more potent without critical buffs. Howling Blast damage has been buffed by 30%. Both the Cleave talents of Glacial Advance and Frost Scythe has been buffed by 50%, and Remorseless Winter damage has been flat out buffed by 80% within PvP. Unholy Death Knights see very similar changes, as well as new PvP additions. First, the Army of the Dead can now be used within rated PvP environments. Army of the Dead and Apocalypse will summon less ghouls to your aid, but the damage of these ghouls will be increased by 20%. Dark Transformation burst damage for your pet has been reduced by 50%, but the base damage of abilities such as Death Coil has been increased by 90% within PvP. Scourge Strike and Clawing Shadows become 30% more effective. The damage of Festering Wounds has been increased by 250% within PvP. The duration of Virulent Plague is no longer reduced within PvP encounters, and talents like Ruptured Viscera exposure damage has been increased by 100%. Evokers have gained a new PvP talent of Dreamwalker's Embrace, where Verdant Embrace tethers you to an ally, increasing your movement speed by 40%, causing all enemies who pass through the tether to suffer continuous damage and have their movement speed heavily reduced, with the tether lasting for up to 10 seconds. Any damage dealt by the tether will heal you as well as your ally for 100% of the damage dealt. Mages have also received a few more changes for PvP, starting with improved Mass Invisibility, which helps reduce the cooldown of Mass Invisibility down to 1 minute, becoming available for all 3 of the Mage's playstyles. Though a large majority of the Mage changes are nerfs to compensate for the drastic performance increases thanks to the newest Mage talent refresher. And even with the nerfs, Mages should be going into patch 10.15 even stronger than they previously were within PvP. Monks' defenses have recently been buffed within PvP, with the Strength of Spirit, Dampen Harm, Minimum Damage Absorb, and Fortifying Brew damage reduction all seeing vast improvements, while Windwalker's Touch of Karma damage absorb has gone up to 80% of maximum health, but its reflection damage has been reduced down to 70%. And the Mistweaver's Ancient Teachings healing has also been slightly bolstered within PvP. The spec of Holy Paladin is gaining a few new PvP talents, such as Divine Plea. After casting Daybreak, you regenerate mana over 15 seconds. Daybreak no longer restores mana from each glimmer consumed, making it far more consistent, but during the mana regen phase, your damage and healing is reduced by 30%. New PvP talent of Denounce takes place of Shield of the Righteous and gains all of its talented benefits. Denounce strikes the target with a bolt of Holy Light, dealing holy damage and preventing the target from causing critical effects for the next 8 seconds. Cleanse the Weak has also been redesigned. Cleansing an ally causes one additional ally within 40 yards to be dispelled off of the same effect, but cleanse cooldown will be increased by 4 seconds. Healing allies with Flash of Light or Holy Light cleanses them of all disease and poison effects. Besides all of these changes, the Paladin's healing and damage has also been adjusted to account for the most recent talented rework. Then we have the class of Priest, starting with the spec of Discipline, where Atonement healing is being further improved to be 89% more effective within PvP. Holy Priest gained a new PvP talent of Seraphic Crescendo, which reduces the cooldown of Divine Hymn by 60 seconds, causing it to channel 50% faster. Additionally, the healing bonus of Divine Hymn now lasts an additional 10 seconds. And the healing of Divine Hymn baseline is being further improved by 75% within PvP. Affliction Warlocks gain a new PvP talent of Oblivion, which replaces Deathbolt. Oblivion causes the Warlock to unleash wicked magic to drain their target's soul, dealing periodic damage over 3 seconds. Oblivion deals 10% increased damage per active damage over time effect on your target, increased by up to 30% maximum. The damage of Unstable Affliction has also been bolstered by 25% within PvP. Though, when using Rampant Affliction, UA loses that 25% damage increase but can then be spread to multiple targets. The PvP talent of Rot and Decay can now proc from Shadow Bolts, Drain Soul as well as Oblivion, which helps extend the duration of Siphon Life as well. And for now, that's going to be the full list of class changes arriving with the patch 10.15. And we are likely to continue seeing even more class updates over the next few weeks with the launch of Fractures in Time. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.